Welcome back. So we are going to look at the first concept of our lesson, which is respiration, definition, and explanation. All living organisms, even plants, need energy to carry out life processes that are important for survival. So we already know what life processes are. Animals will eat plants or other animals to obtain energy. So how do they obtain this energy? When an animal has eaten a plant or another animal, its body breaks down the food, and the energy in the food is released into the animal's body. So that is how the animals get energy from the food. As you can see in this picture, this person is about to eat this burger, which is made up of patty, which is an animal because it's made of meat, and lettuce, which is a plant. So now, when this person eats this burger, obviously the food is going to get inside the body and it's going to be digested and broken down. When it's broken down, the energy in this food is then going to be released into the body of this human being to allow them to have energy to do other tasks such as breathing, such as growing, such as walking around, running, cleaning the house, and doing everything that they need in order to be able to get by. So that is how energy is released. When energy is released from the food, this process is then called respiration. So that is the process of respiration. It takes place inside of the cell. We already know that the cell is the smallest unit of life, of living organisms, in structures called mitochondria. So inside of the cell, we find a mitochondria, and that is where respiration takes place. So we are going to then move on to our second concept, which tells us the requirements of respiration. What is it that we need in order for respiration to take place? So in order for respiration to take place, we need both products of photosynthesis. If you remember the two products of photosynthesis, this is oxygen that was released into the atmosphere and glucose, which is stored as starch in the plant. So now let us look at the glucose first. Glucose is a type of sugar that is produced by the plant during the process of photosynthesis. The second one is oxygen, which is a gas that is released into the atmosphere during photosynthesis. So these are the two requirements for respiration. Therefore, during respiration, plants and animals will break down the glucose using oxygen that they take in or that they breathe in or inhale from the atmosphere. So that is what happens. The glucose that is inside of the plants is broken down using the oxygen. And then after that, what happens, we are going to find out by looking at the products. So now that the glucose has been broken down, what happens next? The glucose is broken down with the help of oxygen during respiration. Carbon dioxide, water, and energy are formed. So now, the carbon dioxide, water, and energy that is formed will then be released as the products of respiration. So the requirements is oxygen and glucose. The oxygen will break down the glucose in order to release what? Carbon dioxide, to release water, and to release energy. Let us take a look at the picture alongside. So the picture explains both photosynthesis and respiration. If you can see the top part is an explanation of photosynthesis because we see the sun, which gives off radiant energy. So the radiant energy is absorbed by the green part of the plant, which is the leaves. So inside of the leaves, the light energy or the radiant energy is absorbed. The water from the roots of the plant is also taken in during photosynthesis, and then the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is also taken in. So the carbon dioxide and the water are then undergoing a chemical reaction, which is photosynthesis, and then we get two products here. The product is oxygen. This is the oxygen. As you can see, the arrow is going out, and the second product is glucose, which is not here. So we are going to put the glucose here. So these are the two products of photosynthesis. Now we are going to move on to the bottom part, which explains respiration. So we said that in order for respiration to take place, we need both products of photosynthesis. As you can see, we have oxygen here coming in, and we also have glucose coming in from this side. So now the glucose and the oxygen come in. The oxygen will then break down this glucose during the process of respiration. And then we get 3 products. And these products are carbon dioxide, which is coming out, water, which is also coming out, and energy. So those are the 3 products of respiration. Now moving on to our next point. So both the animal and plant cell release carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere, and animals breathe it out. So during respiration, carbon dioxide is released back into the atmosphere. But during photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is taken in the plant. So we should not confuse that. The carbon dioxide is then used by the plants during the process of photosynthesis, just like we have clarified. Now we are going to look at this picture that explains what we have just spoken about. So we have the sun here, which is the genesis of everything. So the sun gives us radiant energy. The radiant energy is absorbed into the chloroplast. This is the chloroplast. And inside the chloroplast, we find small structures called the chlorophyll. This is the pigment that is responsible for absorbing the light energy during photosynthesis. So now, when this light energy is absorbed, carbon dioxide is also absorbed into the chlorophyll. So now the carbon dioxide, the water that comes from the roots as well, is also absorbed into the plant. Now, when these 3 are put together, the process of photosynthesis takes place. And then we get 2 products from that. The first product is oxygen. Now, we said that the oxygen is then taken into the air. And then the second product is glucose. So our glucose is then used by the plant during its own life processes, and it is also stored by the plant as starch. And then all of this is then taken into the mitochondria. If you remember, we said the mitochondria is a structure that is found in both animal and plant cell. Why? Because both animals and plants need energy to undergo life processes. So now in the mitochondria, the oxygen and the glucose are going to go inside for a chemical reaction. The oxygen will break down, so the oxygen will break down the glucose. And when the glucose is broken down, 3 things are released. The first one is carbon dioxide. That is one of the things that are released, carbon dioxide. The second one is water, which is H2O. And the third one is energy. And if you remember very well, we said our energy is released into the body of the organism to allow it to perform life processes and other tasks that it needs to perform to survive. And then after the energy is released, then the cycle goes back to photosynthesis again. So photosynthesis happens and then respiration happens afterwards. So there's no respiration if photosynthesis does not take place. So I'm going to leave it here for now, and we'll go to an ad break.